रब्बि इश्रह ली सदरी वयस्सिर ली अमरी वहलुल उक़दम मिन लिसानी यफ़क़हू क़ौली. Yesterday we discussed some very important aspects about Gujarat, about Islam in India, about the early arrival of Islam in India, about the nature of Muslim expansion or spirit of Islam in India. And we took into account some aspects of Gujarat and Sultanate of Gujarat, how it was founded. And today we'll have a very detailed look on how the Sultanate was founded, how its existence was important for Muslims in the country, and how this actually culturally diverse empire in western region of India, it went on to enrich the Indian heritage, Indian architecture, and the overall, say, polity of the subcontinent. The very important aspect about the Sultanate of Gujarat is to actually, as I said yesterday, that it was not only limited to Gujarat. Sultanate of Gujarat was not limited to only Gujarat. It controlled much bigger area, not directly, but it exercised some sort of suzerainty over those regions. So occasionally they were able to rule directly this entire region of Malwa. Khandesh were paid the manual tribute for a very long time, and later on they went on to become a sort of permanent vassal of Gujarat Sultanate. And later on, they actually established a marital relationship with Khandesh. And after the death of Bahadur Shah, when the nobles did not find any say successor from his sort of his own children. So what they did, they went there and then got one of his nephews from there and installed him as the emperor or the sultan in Gujarat. This Ahmedabad region that was usually part of the Bahmani Empire in 14th and 15th century, for some period of time after its independence, the independence of Adil Shahi Sultanate of Ahmednagar, they were forced to such an extent, they were subjugated by Gujarati rulers to such an extent that the Friday khutbah was read not in the name of Ahmednagar Sultan, but the Sultan of Gujarat. The same was true about Birar and also about Kutch and even Sindh. So to the Jams of Sindh or the rulers of Sindh, they provided patronage on numerous occasions. And during the time of Mahmud Begada, they went on to secure the throne of the Jam of Sindh to such an extent that many nobles of Mahmud Begada, they actually asked him to uh, to take over Sindh because he was actually protecting them completely. But he said that because of the fact that they had uh, he was the grand say son of the Jam of Sindh, maternal. So he said that he cannot be seen as the usurper of his mother's family's fief. So he did not take over. So this Marwar region, Mewar region, much of Rajputana, this actually was influenced by this, and it has been accepted. It is not a something like a figment of my imagination that I am talking about, but this all has been sort of documented in different books of history. And but what happened over the last, say, a couple of decades is that uh, as nobody talks about the Sultanate of Gujarat, whenever there is some talk, they actually sort of call them usurpers or try to diminish their importance. So, in the given circumstances, when our history books are actually leaving the entire chapters on Mughals and Bahmanis and uh, Delhi Sultanate are removing those chapters, it's very important to talk about them, think about them, write about them, and create awareness about them. So, another very important thing, and that is actually a godsend, usually with empires that are strong and that survive for quite long time, and they survive for close to 175 years, uh, more than 175 years. The good thing about the sultans of Gujarat was the fact that numerous of them, numerous rulers of Gujarat, they were able to rule for not just 1 or 2 decades, but in the case of Mahmud Begada, he was able to rule for close to 60 years, 58 years in total. So it's a very, very long time. And because they were powerful, they were decisive, they were educated. So what they did, they provide very good form of, say, governance, created wealth not just for them or their nobility, but also for the entire populace, and provided all sorts of comfort of life that is actually associated with benevolent rulers. So many of them are called benevolent rulers, despite the fact that some historians in recent years, in the last 30, 40 years, they have called them iconoclasts of sorts, or they accuse them of forcible conversion. But if you see them and their attitude towards Hindus and how Hindus were actually included in the ruling nobility of the empire, of Gujarat Empire, you will come to conclude the fact that while they were expansionist, there's no denying the fact that they were expansionist. Without expansion, they wouldn't have been able to get control of this entire region, let alone having meaningful suzerainty over this extended region, all the way to the Deccan and all the way to Rajputana and even in Sindh. So, what they did, they actually, every powerful ruler, be it Muslim or not Muslim, what they do, they try to expand their area of influence in such a way that others are not able to subjugate them or attack them. So it is a measure that they took against not just Rajputs or Kuls, but also against Muslim rulers. So we see that initially they had repeated sort of battles against Khandesh, against Ahmednagar and Malwa. They were in constant warfare with Malwa. But later on, their say importance, their power tended to subjugate, I mean, defeat all of them. So later on, what we see that Junagadh was taken over, Champaner was taken over. So these regions completely, they were in their hands. So two, three rulers, they ruled for 30 and 50 years, and others were able to rule for 10 and to 20 years. So it was a special benevolence of God to dynasties that survive, that some of their rulers are able to rule for a very long period of time. We see that in the case of Mughal Empire, we see that Akbar was able to rule for 50 years, almost 50 years. And then his son, Jahangir, was able to rule for close to 26 years, 25, 26 years. And the same was happened to Shah Jahan, who ruled, and then Aurangzeb, uh, he ruled for close to 49 years. So what was Muzaffar Shah dynasty? Muzaffar Shah dynasty, a number of historians and common people, the historians belonging to our WhatsApp university, they claim that the local Indian Muslims, they were never able to rule in any major empire in India. So what they say, that despite the fact that Indians, they went on to accept Islam, but they were not able to become powerful in such a way where they were able to rule or become powerful or say meaningful collaborator in the affairs of the empire. But I have a number of instances where this happened, and Muzaffar Shahi dynasty is one of them. They were of Rajput origin. And Zafar Khan, the founder of the Muzaffar Shah I dynasty, when Muzaffar Khan actually became the king, he took the title of Muzaffar Shah. And therefore, the dynasty of Gujarat Sultanate is known as Muzaffar Shah I dynasty. So, he was the son of Saharan. And Saharan, some people say that he was actually Rajput, and his family were they were in the business of wine. And during the time of Muhammad Tughlaq, they converted. Firoz Shah Tughlaq, his family converted, and Saharan, what he did in order to get into the good books of Firoz Shah Tughlaq, he married his sister to Firoz Shah. So this also suggests that Saharan was not an unknown person. He was one of influential people, and therefore he was able to marry off his sister to the reigning emperor of the Delhi Sultanate. Some accounts suggest that Saharan had actually converted to Islam before the marriage of his sisters, and some other accounts suggest that as at the insistence of his sister, uh, the brother became converted to Islam, and then later on his family took to Islam. So whatever be the case, Muzaffar Shah, the first king of Gujarat, or the first Sultan of Gujarat, was either the first generation Muslim or the second generation. So initially, what happened, he was appointed as the governor of Gujarat in early 1490s, uh, 1390s, yeah. And afterward, he was, despite the fact that the Tughlaq dynasty was on its deathbed, and Timur actually invaded India in 1398 and 99. And despite the fact that Delhi was being ruled by a Muslim dynasty, despite the fact that they were weak, he invaded India at the pretext of, say, defeating the idolaters or the non Muslims. So, in the name of defeating non Muslims, he came to India and decimated a Muslim dynasty that was ruling at the time. So, the Tughlaqs, who were already weak following the death of Firoz Shah Tughlaq, they became completely ineffective. But even at that time, when uh, Firoz Shah, I mean, Delhi Sultanate had become completely weakened, and they had lost power, they had lost prestige, everything. And despite the fact that everybody was proclaiming himself to be the local ruler, so the in Jaunpur, that was later on called as the Shiraz of India, thanks to the innumerable educational institutions that were established here. Jaunpur is in Uttar Pradesh near Azamgarh. They proclaimed themselves to be a sultanate, and therefore Jaunpur Sharqi Sultanate was founded. In Malwa, they one of the Ghorids, they proclaimed himself the local governor at the time. He proclaimed himself to be the ruler, and then he became the Sultan of Malwa. The same happened in different parts of India, particularly in North India and also in South, where the strife was already very visible. But even then, Gujarat's Muzaffar Shah, or say Zafar Khan, who later on took the title of Muzaffar Shah, he remained very faithful to the Sultan of Delhi, despite the fact that he was not averse to refuse some of their demands. So when Timur actually defeated the ruler of Delhi at the time, it was Muhammad bin Firoz bin Tughlaq. Uh, yeah, probably. So the king, after being defeated, they fought, not valiantly, even though Timur in his book says that the fight was very ferocious. No, the fight was not very ferocious. The Delhi Sultan, who commanded only 10,000 cavalry at the time, compared to 100,000 cavalry of Mongols that and Central Asian that Timur actually commanded, he was defeated, he fled and came to Gujarat. At that time, Zafar Khan, he asked Zafar Khan to provide him military support so that he can go back to Delhi and take over the Delhi Sultanate. But he was not really very inclined to follow him. So he refused despite sort of receiving him with utmost courtesy. He went to Malwa and then later on he was invited to Delhi and then he went and so this happened. Around the same time, what happened when the king of Delhi had appointed him the governor of Gujarat, he, in order to keep a tab on him, the governor of Gujarat had asked him to leave his son Tatar Khan with in Delhi, and he was appointed as a say in an administrative position. And later on, Tatar Khan's importance grew, and he was able to uh, grow much in stature. So when Delhi Sultanate became weak, Tatar Khan, the son of Zafar Khan, he asked him to go and attack Delhi and take over it. He said, "There is nobody in Delhi to defy you. You will go there, and then you will be accepted as a king." He was not cool to idea. He refused. And what happened? In 1403, Tatar Khan came to Delhi. It is said that he sort of imprisoned his father and convinced his uncle, one of his brothers of Zafar Khan, to support him. And then he marched to Delhi with an army of Gujarat Sultan, or say the Gujarat Governorate. He proclaimed himself to be the king. So Tatar Khan is said to be the first Sultan of Gujarat Sultanate, despite the fact that he was able to rule only for 2 months. Around the same time, what happened? I mean, these are court intrigues, or say the court, I mean, cunning acts of courts. What he did, I mean, Zafar Khan, he asked his brother to sort of remove him from the distress in which he was finding himself. So his brother, who had actually supported his nephew, now what he did, he poisoned his nephew. He was in the same army, he was going with him. And then, therefore, Zafar Khan was able to recover his empire. But even then, he did not proclaim himself to be the king, and it was only done in 1407 when his nobles, or say his uh, fellow courtiers, they asked him to proclaim to be the king, because they said that the Delhi Sultan was no longer minting money and it was powerless. There was no power they were using. So therefore, Muzaffar Shah became the king or the Sultan of Gujarat in uh, 1407. And then he was able to rule for another 4 years as Sultan. But the important role that Muzaffar Shah or Zafar Khan played from early 1390s to 1411, for close to 20-21 years, it was remarkable. What he did, because he was free from the influence of Delhi, he was acting as a governor, but he was the I mean, he was the king in all the, say, for all the practical purposes. So what he did, he defeated all the local overlords that were there, and then established himself at Patan, that used to be the regional king of earlier, say, Gujarat kings, Rajput kings of Gujarat. So Patan remained the Darus Sultanate or the capital of the Gujarat dynasty for close to, 12 years. Around the same time, this Gujarat was not really this entire region was not under Zafar Khan when he was the ruler or the it will have to wait for another 20-30 years during the time of Ahmad when it will become the part of Gujarat, and also the larger role that they will play. Another important thing that Gujarat did at the time, Zafar Khan was did, he started because of the fact that he was fearful that the rulers of Malwa will become too big because they were equally large, this Malwa region, and they were eager to actually extend their influence. They attacked Khandesh and they attacked Bahmanis. Once what happened, the ruler of Malwa or the Sultan of Malwa was able to besiege the Bahmani seat of power in Bidar, and it was for the first time that Bahmani capital Bidar came under the under direct attack by any outside power. So he actually went and defeated the ruler of Malwa, but then again gave back the fief. And asked him to accept his sovereignty. But then this was going back and forth, and they will continue to fight for the next 120 or 130 years. The political condition of India at the time, we have already talked about it. It was very delicate. India was divided. Uh, Tamerlane had not just destroyed the very foundation of Delhi Sultanate at the time, he had looted everything that was available. The entire khazana of the Delhi Sultanate that was accumulated for last 200 years was, snatched away by the Mongol, or they say the Central Asian hordes that came to Delhi, led by Timur. So the sort of ravage that Delhi experienced during the time of Nadir Shah's invasion in early 18th century, the same sort of say looting and pillage and destruction happened during the time of Amir Timur, even though it was very short-lived and he came very fast and went back quite fast. But in the meantime, what he did, he destroyed the center of the empire, and there it was thanks to the demolition of the Tughlaq dynasty, the remnants of the Tughlaq dynasty, because Tughlaqs were already very weak at the time. So we will have to talk about them later on when in another course. But what happened that had Timur not invaded Delhi or India at the time and not destroyed the seat of power, there were chance that they might have resurrected themselves and the local rulers might have not been able to revolt and become independent. And then this desire continued for next, say, 125 years when Babur came and Delhi regained its glory once again. But for next 125 years, we will have to wait for that glory to come. Delhi will remain very weak, very, during the time of Khizr Khan or Sayyids, the Sayyid dynasty, it was a very small regional sultanate or kingdom that was actually under the control of Timurid princes. So Delhi became very weak or at weakest in say 200 years thanks to the attack of Tamerlane. And another important thing, if we are talking about Tamerlane, Timur himself has talked about how the fight went, and he wrote a short autobiography, and it's very, very informative. You should read. When he went from Delhi, what he did, and one thing is actually attached to Delhi. This Gujarat Sultanate's foundation. Ahmad Shah Khattu. Ahmad Shah Khattu is said to be the reigning Sufi or one of the patron Sufis of Gujarat. And when Timur Lane came, he was at the time in Delhi. What happened? Timur, actually, what he did, he imprisoned a number of artisans, ulama, scholars, and he was taking them to all the way mm, to Samarkand, his seat of power in Central Asia. So what happened at the time? Some people asked Ahmad Shah Khattu, one of the very renowned Sufis, to go to the Sultan or to go to the, say, Timur and ask him to release those people. Because if they go, the entire Muslim empire of Delhi will become almost rudderless. There won't be any people to run the empire or the vestige of empire that was there. So Ahmad Shah Khattu, they went there. He discussed for quite a few days with Timur and his nobility. And then Timurian actually released all of them. Later on, we will see that in 1411, when Ahmedabad was founded by Ahmad Shah, this sage Ahmad Shah Khattu, he will be the one who will be the patron saint of the new city. So the foundation of Delhi Sultan, I mean Gujarati Sultanate and Timur was actually very say connected. Another important thing and very surprising thing about Timur Lane, I mean, if you read history, you'll be surprised that such conquerors, despite being so ruthless, are occasionally very well educated. He was Timur Lane. I mean, wherever he went, he made it a point to actually discuss with the best educated people. So, just a minute, I'm just forgetting the name of one. Uh, Ibn Khaldun, when he attacked this Syria, Damascus at the time, Ibn Khaldun was there. So when the city was, say, besieged and there was sign that everyone would be destroyed, and eventually the city was destroyed by Timur, the city people actually sent him to besiege their case or to fight their case or to present their case to Timur. They had very long discussion. And Timur, what he did, he asked Khaldun to write the history of his place from where he came, Maghrib. And then he released all the scholars at the instance of Ibn Khaldun. The same happened with, say, Ahmad Shah Khattu. When he besieged the king or the conqueror, he released all the people. So this was the influence of the scholars and Sufis over our, say, rulers and even conquerors, even those ruthless conquerors whom we think that they were very brutal, and certainly they were brutal. Zafar Khan as governor of Gujarat, I mean, there is no denying that Zafar Khan provided the best rule. He sort of established peace and prosperity from 1391 till say 1407, with the exception of 2 months when his son was the Sultan of the Gujarat. He provided extremely benevolent rule. And uh, one thing that actually some historians actually accuse him to be, because they call him that he destroyed some temples. So might be that I mean, he is not as a sort of religious bigot as he is actually made out to be. He was not a religious bigot. He was very benevolent person, and therefore we see that he actually started employing the Hindus in a large number in his army and also in his services. So he was one of those people who was very, say, despite being capable, despite being able to proclaim their independence, they stuck to their say seat of power in Delhi, and they did not believe that. I mean, they did not think it wise to proclaim themselves as Sultan. So he was very one of those few people who were very true to their oath. And he was the last when it became completely impossible to follow anything from Delhi, because Delhi was no longer, I mean, powerful. At that time, when the Tughlaqs were completely decimated, and one Shah Alam was ruling there, a Persian poet came and said, Shahenshahi Shah Alam as Delhi Tapalam, that the rule of the Shah Alam of the King of Delhi was only visible to Palam, that is now international airport in Delhi. And on one occasion there were two emperors living in Delhi itself, belonging to Tughlaq dynasty. Who was Tatar Khan? Tatar Khan was the son of Zafar Khan, and when Tughlaqs were fighting between each other, I mean, there was very infighting for a very long time that went on for close to 20 years. So what happened? He thought that he will be able, with the help of his father, to extend their rule not just to Rajputana or to say Malwa, but to all the way to Delhi. And when he knew that if he was able to take over Delhi, he will be able to take over the entire Delhi Sultanate. But because of the fact that he did not find easy support from his father, but nevertheless, Tatar Khan was very wise, he was very powerful, and he had his own mind when that he actually wanted to plan and wanted to take over the entire the region that used to be Delhi Sultanate. But I mean, this was not going to happen, as he actually imprisoned his father. His father said that he was already very old at that time when Tatar Khan actually removed his father from his seat of power, or from governor. His father was already more than 60 years. So later on, when he died in say 1411, Zafar Khan was almost 70 years old. Ahmad Shah I, who ruled from 1411 to 1442. While there is no denying the fact that Muzaffar Shah was the founder of the empire, but there is no shame in accepting that it was Ahmad Shah who actually established empire in such a way where it became effective, and it was able to survive for another 150 years after him, or say 130 years after him. So Ahmad Shah was not just a ruler, he was a very religious person. And another important thing is that when we talk about Firoz Shah Tughlaq, we or say this Shah Jahan, we call him as the greatest builders in the history of India. But if we talk about the Sultanate of Gujarat, then we come to conclude that there were, I mean, as good builders in Gujarat as were in Delhi. So not just Ahmad Shah, but his grandson Mahmud Begada, who ruled for close to 58 years, both are among the greatest builders in the history of India. Ahmedabad, the city that where almost 10 million people live, it was founded by Ahmad Shah the same year when he ascended to the throne. But then there is another twist to how he came to rule, how he came to power. Some people suggest that before his death, Zafar Khan or Muzaffar Shah, he appointed his grandson to be the king of Gujarat or the Sultan of Gujarat. But there are other stories that suggest that Ahmad Shah actually forcefully forced his grandfather to abdicate the empire in his favor. But there are mostly historians are not unanimous in this, and they claim that it was, uh, say, very natural, say, abdication of power by Muzaffar Shah when he became very weak and frail, and appointed Ahmad Shah as his successor. And when he died, or even before his death, Ahmad Shah was proclaimed the emperor and or the sultan. And after a few months, this mm, Zafar Khan actually died a natural death. But then there are others who say that he was forced to drink, say, some poisonous elements. Just 1 minute. So Ahmad Shah actually ascended to the throne in January 1411. And as I said earlier, it's a boon for any empire where a ruler is able to rule for a very long time. So we see that in Ahmad Shah, the foundation stone was laid by Zafar Khan, but the empire was strengthened and given its footing, I mean, strong footing by Ahmad Shah, his grandson. So from 1411 till 1442, he ruled very wisely. So a number of people, I mean, despite the fact that some historians call him iconoclast, or someone who forced people to follow or accept Islam, and also accuse him of demolishing some temples. I mean, I won't sort of say claim that he never demolished any temples. I mean, he was a man and he might have committed many mistakes, but to call him a temple demolisher, I mean, it's not unwise. It's not really true. What we see that instead of doing that, what he did, he expanded his empire. He built several new cities. He built this Ahmedabad and also Ahmednagar. Ahmednagar is now called Himmatnagar, and Himmatnagar is also a say a district center. I mean, not a very large town like Ahmedabad, but it's also nevertheless it's an important district headquarter. How was he as a ruler? I mean, if I talk about him, the way he established the city of Ahmedabad, the way he expanded his power, the way he strengthened his rule, the way he sort of tried to say build the institutions of power. During his rule, Zafar Khan was not able to establish, say, the system of power. What he did, Ahmad Shah, he divided his empire into different iqta and subdivided iqtas into sheikhs, appointed iqtadar and appointed sheikhdar, like the, say, provinces and districts in charge. So everything was brought under control. Every part of the empire, every part of the kingdom, the Gujarat Sultanate was uh, established in a way that prosperity was everywhere. There was peace. Another happened thing that happened during the earlier time, that I mean, robbery was rampant, and robbery was not limited to only Sultanate of Gujarat. We see that on numerous occasions, Delhi became so difficult to reach by people coming from outside that one ruler, it's Alauddin Khilji, he actually cut down all the jungles surrounding Delhi, particularly in Haryana, in Mewat. So the same happened in Ahmad Shah case. He destroyed the robbers, and the robbery also stopped. So it was a very important thing that he did. But what we see Ahmad Shah in today's time, if you go to Ahmedabad, you will see the even the city wall that was built to some extent during his time, and to some extent by some 30, 40 years after his death, during the time of Mahmud Begada, it is still standing. The mosque that he built is still stands. The Jama Masjid that he built still stands intact. And people actually marvel if you go there, you marvel the sort of architecture they built and left behind. One author says that it's interesting to note that Mausoleum of Qazi Ahmad Jud, I mean, acha. So when he decided to build the town, what he did, he invited four major Sufis, including Hazrat Khattu, Sheikh Ahmad Khattu, and three other major sheikhs. And another eight people came, minor Sufis, who were also very important. And then in their presence, with their with their prayers, he established the city. And we see that the city that he founded some 600 years ago is now a metropolis of, say, 10 million people. And many monuments that he built are still standing intact. On the contrary, if you go and see the monuments that were built by Tughlaq, Firoz Shah Tughlaq, I mean, some 50, 60 years before him, you will see that all of them have been raised to the ground almost. And a few that stands, you wouldn't be able to sort of see if as to who built them, and the number of monuments that Firoz Shah Tughlaq had built in Delhi, they are in ruins. On the contrary, Ahmad Shah, the city that he built is still prospering, is still expanding. The mosque he built, the namazis or musallis, I mean, they go all the time. Friday, I mean, 5 time prayers are happening there. And I mean, even I was there in January or February this year, and I was very pleased to see that those are being kept very well despite the challenges that they are facing. The challenges that Muslims in Gujarat are facing, and the sort of maintenance that they are providing to the architecture or to their heirlooms, to the mosque, to the khankas. I mean, this is surprising. And that might be because thanks to the prayers of the sheikhs that he had assembled or the good work that he had done. In the history of India, if you see, uh, there are quite a few large cities that were built by from out of nothing by some Muslim kings, like Hyderabad, founded by mm, Qutub Shahi rulers and Muhammad Qutub Shah. And the same is true about this. And we see that despite the fact that Ahmedabad was not seat of power for a very long time, after the, say, the defeat of the rulers of Gujarat Sultanate at the hands of Akbar. And afterwards, when Bombay became very important and this Ahmedabad became, I mean, did not had as was as important as Mumbai or Bombay, but even then it continued to grow as a say industrial center, and it continues to, and right now it is one of the most important cities in India. So the foundation that he actually got at the hands of the great Sufis of the time might have been sort of the source of, say, the long life that we see, and also the mosque or the architectural wonders that he built is thanks to their prayers that they survived till date. So the city was started. The city in the first year of his rule itself, he launched I mean, the construction of the city, and he built on the site where this building activity began. Uh, uh, some historical accounts suggest that uh, a minar of around say 100 feet was built there. I don't know whether it survives or not, but a book that I was reading earlier today, they said that in say 1850s that minar was there itself. So the important thing is that if you go to Ahmedabad and you try to find the city walls, you will still be able to see the city walls there. I mean, if you come to Delhi and you try to find the city walls in Delhi, you will be hard pressed to find city walls, even though you will find some cities, some gates like Delhi Gate and Lahori Gate in Delhi. But in Delhi, that was established, I mean, the Shahjahanabad or the old Delhi that was established during the time of Shah Jahan, it does not survive now. On the contrary, the city that was built some 600 years ago, or say 580 years ago, its city wall survived till date. The gates, I mean, this gate, it also survives this day, and similar other gates, a number of other gates also survive. So this is, I mean, very surprising as to how they were built, with the intentions they were built, with the support of the or the prayers that they built, that they caused them to actually survive for such a long time. So first a mosque was built that is called Ahmad Shah Mosque, and then another Jama Masjid was built by Ahmad Shah. So both the mosques have survived. And if you go to Ahmedabad, you will see that numerous rulers and their sons also, they built a number of mosques, splendid mosques, and they all those mosques are standing. And one major, say, unique aspect of them is that their minarets, they when most of the minarets, they fell during a very serious earthquake in early 19th century. But the ones that survive, if they are actually they're able to move in the sense if they are pushed. Uh, uh, you can feel their movement.
Uh,
So most of
it
them,
is
hello.
it is
Yeah,
shaking, sir.
yeah, right, shaking minarets, yeah. So, but because of the fact that those minarets are never, are no longer visible, I mean, they were lost during 19th century earthquake. So you wouldn't be able to experience, but a number of architects, I mean, they went there and they gave credence to that theory. And even now, what happens that many of the students of architecture colleges across Gujarat, they go there to see as to how they were built. So one scholar, uh, what he did, he went to the mosque and tried to experience that shaking. So shaking was there in early 19th century. What he did, he tried to experience the same shaking while laying down on the surface of the mosque, but it was not. So the surface of the mosque was not shaking, only the minarets were shaking. So all the mosque in almost every big, all the minarets in all the big mosques, they were shaking mosques. They were built with the same technology that was used by Ahmad Shah in his mosque. So it was followed, but nobody knows as to how they were able to sort of put that in those minarets. So Ahmad Shah was a remarkable ruler as far as the Sultanate of Gujarat is concerned. And As far as, let me talk about Ahmedabad more. Mirat Ahmadi says that there were originally 12 principal gates in the city walls. And in North Shahpur, Idaria or Delhi, and Daryapur in the east, Kalupur, Sarangpur, and Raipur in the south, Astudhya, Jamalpur, and a closed gate which was called Dedial. Later on, it is said that in some 100 years later, some other gates were added to that. And in 19th century, another two, three gates were added to the city walls. According to local tradition, the great market square called the Manik Chowk, as also the Manik Burj or Basham on the river, are named after a Hindu ascetic, Manik Baba, who lived on the banks of the Sabar and who had to be conciliated before the city walls could be built. So the people who actually called Ahmad Shah an iconoclast or a person who took to force conversion to local population, I mean, had he been an iconoclast, instead of pleading his case with the Hindu ascetic, Sultan might have killed him in cold blood, but he did not. Ahmedabad is unique in the whole of India in the matter of neatness and flourishing. The historian is saying in 17th century. Ahmedabad is unique in the whole of India in the matter of neatness and flourishing condition. It is superior to other cities in the excellence of its monument. There is no denying to fact. If you go to monuments in Delhi and if you go to monuments in Gujarat, you will see the difference. Even though the monuments in Delhi were built, most of the monuments, surviving monuments, Mughal monuments in Delhi, they were built much later than the monuments that the sultans of Gujarat built, but they are in far worse condition, with the exception of a few, including Jama Masjid of Delhi. Even though Jama Masjid of Delhi is also in shambles, it would be no exaggeration to say that in the whole world there exists no town so grand and beautiful. The historian in 17th century is saying its streets are spacious and well arranged. Unlike those in other towns, its shops with two or three stories each are finely built, and its inhabitants, both men and women, are graceful and delicate. The local historian Ali Muhammad Khan, who wrote Mirat Ahmadi, the author of Mirat Ahmadi, who wrote in the middle of the 18th century after reporting to the eulogy of the Haft Iqlim, goes on to make the following addition. He writes, and in truth, a city with such beauties is rare, whence it has been called the beauty of cities. Zinatal Bilad, meaning the beauty of all the cities, and the bride of the kingdom. Precious stuffs are manufactured here and exported to various parts of the world, and the merchants who traffic by land and by sea make a profitable trade. Mosques and markets abound, and round about the city there are 360 suburbs. Sultan Mahmud II, from 1537 to 54, during his reign made Mahmudabad 12 course of his capital. From Ahmedabad to this place, it was 12 course. And but the road to that place from Ahmedabad was so covered by markets on both sides, as well as by houses of the people, that the two cities appeared one. In particular, the art of weaving golden and silken stuff, such as kinkhab, velvet, gauze, and embroidery, flourishes here owing to the suitable climate, and thence these stuffs are unequaled in India for color and beauty. The fame of the art of Gujarat has spread to various parts of the world and to distant cities of Iran, Turan, Rome, and Syria. Abul Fazl, who was one of the most important courtiers and scholars during the time of Akbar, he has also written in detail about the city, about its beauty, how it was built. So Ahmad Shah actually became, uh, one of those people who can never be forgotten as long as the city will survive, city of Ahmedabad. Muhammad Shah was a very important ruler and he ruled from 1442 to 1451. And the important aspect of him was he probably got completed the Sarkhez Roza. Sarkhez Roza is one of the most iconic buildings in all of Ahmedabad. And anybody going there, it's a huge, huge complex, and a number of, say, Muslims of sultans are there, and the Muslim of the sage are there. And so Sarkhez Roja is one of the most foremost buildings. Its building was begun during the time of his father, and he completed it. But the most important ruler of Gujarat that everybody talks about. And I mean, he was uh, those people who can never be forgotten. So when he ascended to the throne, he was all of 13 years. So a 13-year-old boy was installed, and there was opposition. So during medieval period, say scheming was very common. So some say nobles, they scheme against the other, and the others scheme against their opponents, and they want to take control of the empire, or to make say the sultans amenable to their demands. So what happens? Four nobles came to Mahmud Begada, who was all of 13 years, and suggest that his wazir, Usman something, he was actually, they claimed that he was scheming against removing the sultan, and therefore he asked them to arrest him, his wazir, and imprison him somewhere. Luckily he was not beheaded. So what happens when of his Sipeh Salar comes and tells the sultan the truth that those were the scheming people, and the sultan, despite being 13, he was very decisive at such a young age. And we'll see that he will remain decisive throughout his reign of 58 years. So what he did, uh, he went to the prison and say, asked the people there who were responsible for the security of the place to bring the traitor. They thought that the king was going to behead the wazir, but he did not. What he did, he removed the fetters from his feet and hands, and sort of sought, he, he apologized before the old and wazir. And later on, these traitors, what they did, they assembled their army and attacked the king. King, despite having only 300 soldiers with him, attacked them, and they were ultimately defeated. And the king, a 13-year-old king, he was able to take control of his empire back. We'll see that he was of around the same time, same age, and in a distant place in Bahmani Sultanate. Bidar was seat of power at the time of Bahmani Sultanate, and yeah, Sultan Nizam was a 13-year-old or 12-year-old boy, he was ruling there. And Nargis Banu Begum was his regent, and the regent was Mahmud Gawan. Mahmud Gawan was one of the most important statesmen in the history of medieval India. So what happened? A 13-year-old sultan seeks the help of Mahmud Begada in defeating the Sultan of Malwa, who had taken control of the city of Bidar, his seat of power. The citadel was not taken over yet. So Mahmud Begada, despite his wazirs and his nobles' council, he says that I'm going to send the forces to support the young sultan in Bidar. And he sends the forces, forcing the Sultan of Malwa to retract and his step and go back to Malwa. So, I mean, it's surprising for us that a young boys of 13 or 14 or 15, how they were able to act so decisively. But then we have earlier examples in Muhammad bin Qasim also. Muhammad bin Qasim, when he invaded India, he was 17 years of age. And we everybody knows how he actually acted. But we don't know that before being appointed as the leader or the general of the army marching to India, he was the governor of Fars, and he governed Fars or Iran for close to 3 years. So, so there were exceptions, and some very young, bright young people, they were able to do wonders then because they they came from such families where such bravery was, I mean, the norm, not the exceptions. He has Mahmud Begada has seen everybody in his say family rule the empire. All of them, all the emperors of Gujarat, they were exceptionally say brave. The same was true about Mughals and Rajput because this Gujarat dynasty was Rajput. I mean, their bravery can never be questioned. So Mahmud Begada, despite the fact that he was appointed king, I mean, he inherited the empire at such a young age, he was able uh, to take care of his empire very effectively from such a young age. What sort of ruler he was? I mean, he was a ruler who tried to expand his uh, the extent of his empire. He invaded uh, Junagadh. He was able to take over Champaner. And if you go to Champaner, the city that he later on expanded as his seat of power or his capital, I mean, it is a number of palaces, a number of mosques. You will find, you will be mesmerized by the beauty of the those buildings. This is a Jum, Jama Masjid of Champaner. It is an archaeological wonder. This city is an archaeological wonder. So Mahmud Begada, he provided very exceptional rule. So what he did, he expanded to Junagadh, and then Junagadh was also incorporated into the empire. He defeated the Rajput rulers of Champaner, and Champaner was incorporated into the empire. So what he did, he took control of Malwa, defeated the rulers of Malwa. He incorporated Khandesh, a sultanate, a vast sultanate at the time. Khandesh Sultanate is important because it is the only sultanate in India that was ruled by Faruqis. The ruler of Khandesh, they trace their ancestry to Hazrat Umar bin al-Khattab and Hazrat Umar Farooq, the second Rashidun Caliph. And therefore, whenever, I mean, in Muslim localities, in Muslim cities, the Khandesh rulers actually they got ready acceptance because they said that they are descendants of Hazrat Umar bin Farooq. So many people thought that they were the rightful rulers of not just Khandesh but also India. Uh, One small thing about Khandesh is that despite Khandesh being not a very powerful or a very extensive empire, they were able to build two major cities there. Burhanpur is a major town, it's a major town, and then Asirgarh is another major town. So, despite the fact that they ruled for a very short period of time, close to 200 years, and they remained vassals of the Gujarat sultans, and later on, Akbar actually say incorporated the Khandesh Sultanate in his own empire. But even despite being small, despite being not so powerful, they were able to build two cities, and those cities are still very, I mean, very well populated and maintained. And if you go to, say, Burhanpur or Asirgarh, you will be able to see the architectural marvels that they built there. So Mahmud Begada is important because of the fact that he ruled for close to 60 years, subdued the entire regions, and once he went all the way to Indus. Had he been actually desirous to expand his empire and incorporate Sindh within his empire or within his sultanate, he would have been able to do that without any problem. But he said that he wouldn't do because people say that he is an usurper of his own family's fief. So he did not do. 1 minute, 1 minute. He is actually important because of numerous reasons. Uh, One is that he provided very secure, very peaceful environment for such a very long period of time. We see that during the 80 years of, say, slave dynasties rule in Delhi, there were different dynasties. And here is, we see that a single ruler was able to rule for 60 years unstopped, similarly powerful, similarly resourceful. His power never diminished till he breathed his last. And he was mostly he is said to be a person who was never defeated in a major war. Just a minute. So the important thing about his rule is that uh, when he took control of Junagadh, he built a number of say architectural marvels in Junagadh. So if you go to Junagadh, you'll see that the architecture in Junagadh is completely different from the architecture that we find in Ahmedabad or say Champaner. If you look at the mosque, if you search it on Google and you try to find the mosque in Junagadh, you will see that it is completely different than what we see in all those places. So might be some Hindu historians they have suggested that the mosque or Jama Masjid in Junagadh was previously a palace of the ruling Rajput king, and it was with minor changes it was say changed into a mosque, but it's completely impossible to convert a standing say palace into a mosque. It's completely impossible. The same is true about most of mosque in Ahmedabad. If you go to Jama Masjid Ahmedabad, the number of all the say people coming with the groups of visitors that come, particularly the local guides, they claim that it was a temple, the Jama Masjid of Gujarat, Ahmedabad. Similar is the case of almost all the mosques in Ahmedabad and other places, including Champaner. The historians, particularly the guides, all of them have been fed information suggesting that those places were actually temples that were converted to mosques. It is because of the fact that because it was too early when the Sultanate of Gujarat actually established and the sultans started building, say, constructing mosques and palaces. What they did not have their own architects. What they did, they employed the local architects and asked them to build a mosque in a certain way. So when if you go to Khambat and if you try to see the Jama Masjid there, that was built in the time of Alauddin Khilji. The same is said about the mosque in Khambat also. Other monuments in Ahmedabad, particularly the Baulis that have been, and there are number of very good Baulis. You will go there, and the guide will invariably say that this was a temple, part of temple, and it was actually say converted by Muslims, and a mosque was built within the compound of that Bauli. So I went to Bauli in Ahmedabad earlier this year, and I was told the same. And some people, some miscreant, what they have done, they actually installed some say idols there, suggesting that those idols were actually dated earlier than the mosque. Even the mosque in its ruins, even though the five times prayers are conducted there, but this is something that Gujarati sultans have been accused. This is completely false. They what about the Jama Masjid of Ahmedabad? What has been suggested is that it was built using say the destructed pieces or parts of temples in different parts of Ahmedabad. I mean, there was no Ahmedabad at the time. Ahmedabad was built from scratch. It was not a previous city that was destroyed to build a new city. No, completely new city was founded. So the important thing was that all the Rajput chieftains from Gujarat, they were defeated, and their regions were incorporated within the say Gujarat Sultanate. So during the time of Ahmad Begada, we said that Rajputs were completely, as far as political power, they were completely eliminated from there. So despite the fact that the Rajput Muslims were ruling, but Hindu Rajputs were removed from the power. And if you go to these places, I mean Champaner or Junagadh or Ahmedabad or other cities where he built extensive, I mean, say buildings, palaces, and mosques. I mean, all of them are awe-inspiring. So, I mean, I should limit myself to him now, and now we'll talk about Bahadur Shah. Bahadur Shah was actually a very important ruler who ruled from mm, 1526 to 1537, almost 1537. And during this time, he was able to, I mean, we can see as to how uh, high and low a person's stock can go. So, when he ascended to the throne, it was the time when the Timurid power had just arrived in Delhi. In 1526, the Battle of Panipat was fought, and Babur was able to take control of Delhi and some parts of North India. Merely 4 years after him, after taking control of Delhi, he died. He passed away in 1530, almost 1530. And Humayun was able to take over the reins of power. And he was able to rule for next 10 years uh, in India. Later on, he was driven out of India. So when Humayun actually took to the throne, at that time, there were two Shahs uh, who were main challenge to Humayun's expansion. One of them was Sher Shah Suri, who will eventually actually repeatedly defeat Humayun and drive him outside India. And the other one was Bahadur Shah, the ruler of Gujarat Sultanate. So lest I forget, another important thing about uh, Mahmud Begada was that he defeated the Portuguese twice. And later on, when he realized that Portuguese will become a regular fixture within India, he tried to have an alliance with them. So the sultans of Delhi, the sultans of Gujarat are in fact they were the only power who built a major navy in medieval India. Otherwise, we see that neither Delhi Sultanate nor Mughals they ever tried to have a powerful navy. So they allowed the Portuguese and other European powers a free hand in Indian Ocean or say the Bay of Bengal, and they never asserted themselves as a naval power, despite the fact that they had huge resources at their disposal, but they never did that. On the contrary, only the sultans of Gujarat, because they were a maritime, say, region, and they were a major naval power. And Malik Ayaz, one of their naval chieftains or Amirul Bahr, uh, he was able to build a very powerful navy, and we see that once he was able to defeat the Portuguese. And then what happened then? Uh, the Ottoman Empire, they sent an armada to seek an alliance with the rulers of Gujarat, and then they came into contact, and then they had some sort of agreement where both actually tried to defeat the Portuguese, but it did not work for a very long time. Nonetheless, for as long as Bahadur Shah was there, the sultans of Gujarat were powerful, very powerful indeed. So Bahadur Shah, when he ascended to the throne, he he was able to take control of almost all the neighboring regions. He defeated the rulers of Malwa. He defeated the Rana Sanga. I mean the rulers of Mewar, the rulers of Chittor, and I mean, in even in south in Deccan, he was able to assert himself, and the khutbah for some time was read in the name of Bahadur Shah in say Ahmednagar or the Nizam Shahi Sultanate. That was a pretty powerful sultanate. So he defeated them and forced them to read khutbah in his name. But we'll see that within a very short time, around uh, mm, 1530 to 33, Humayun actually started attacking them. Humayun first, Bahadur Shah had attacked Malwa and had taken control of that. So Humayun first attacked him because Humayun was fearful that this Shah, Bahadur Shah, will be bigger trouble for him than Sher Shah Suri, because he was without any existing empire under his control. He was just trying to build his fief at the time. On the contrary, Bahadur Shah, the Sultan of Gujarat, was ruling a vast, say, empire, and they had been ruling this region for, I mean, more than 100 years. So he was fearful that he may be more dangerous for him. So Bahadur Shah, what happened that before fighting this Humayun, they had a pact with the Ottomans, and they had sent one of their Amirul Bahr, Rumi Khan, to him. And Rumi Khan, because of the fact that Ottomans they were very adept in using cannons, so Bahadur Shah attracted him and took him under his wing, and he became a partner. So when he attacked a place in Mewar, he assured him that if they were able to take control of the city, he will give Bahadur Shah will give Rumi Khan this the place as a fief. But when he took control of that, he gave the fief to someone else. So what happens? The Rumi Khan was disappointed, and he decided to teach him Bahadur Shah a lesson. So when they were going to fight, when this Humayun attacked his territory, uh, instead of listening to the say council of his nobles or say generals, he listened to Rumi Khan's advice and sort of did not attack Humayun immediately, despite the fact that they were very well prepared, and instead they went inside. They say dug some I'm sorry, just a minute. I mean, just a minute. So Humayun Khan was, I mean, Rumi Khan was trying to defeat Bahadur Shah, and he actually got into an agreement with Humayun against Bahadur Shah. And Bahadur Shah was thinking that Rumi Khan was with him. Rumi Khan was ditching him and he tried to defeat him. So, when the fighting actually ensued, started, Rumi Khan did not use his cannons, and so Humayun defeated him completely. So, from Malwa, he was defeated to, he ran to Champaner, and sort of from Champaner, he ran to Kambe, and from Kambe, he went to Diu, where he sought the support of uh, this. Uh, Portuguese, his sworn enemies. So within a matter of months, Bahadur Shah, who was the foremost power in western and central India and also in Deccan, he was completely defeated. And he was defeated to such an extent that when he went took shelter in Champaner, he got all his say pearls and diamonds and everything that precious items collected in 40 carts and dispatched it to the sultans of Ottoman. So, but even then, the sultan of the king at Ottoman king was not able to come to his rescue, and he himself was able to take control of his former empire once again. The important thing is that he was so benevolent that even though he was not in his empire and he was taking, say, trying to seek support of the Portuguese, the farmers and the landlords in his empire, they collected the revenue that was due to him and sent the revenue to Bahadur Shah. I mean, this is unprecedented that that such a king was ruling at that time. Had Rumi Khan not actually ditched him, and had he not actually lost heart because he thought that he had lost the plot and he wouldn't win against Humayun. So, had it not been the case, Bahadur Shah would have not never been defeated by Humayun because he was in such a strong position at that time. He had defeated almost every force, every power at the time. But then some mistakes actually, had he not actually gone on his promise and sort of given the city to Rumi Khan might have been with him. So what he did, he came back and took control of his say former empire once again, defeating the Humayun's brother who were stationed in as governor of Ahmedabad or Gujarat. They were defeated and left, and so he was able to take control of his former empire once again. But what happened, because of the fact that the Portuguese had supported him, they tried to seek their say, I mean, share in the booty. And he went to them once again, and he again made a mistake. He went to their ship with only five of his soldiers, despite his other supporters or other generals asking him to be supported, to be accompanied by a larger army. He went there and he wanted to come back, but they tried to sort of detain him, and then he was killed. And then uh, such a great ruler, his I mean, we see his fate in such a I mean, his his final days in such bad shape. I mean, it was uh, so destiny has. I mean, nobody knows as to where destiny is taking people. So he made many mistakes and paid very dearly. But nonetheless, Bahadur Shah Gujarati was a great ruler. He was the one under whose control the Sultanate actually expanded much beyond the confines that even during the time of Mahmud Begada, who had ruled for 15 years. But in a matter of 11 years, uh, the Sultanate actually saw many reversals. And despite the fact that Bahadur Shah was able to recover his territory and recover the empire where he and his forefathers had ruled, but the aura was gone. He was defeated in a way that his forefathers or even he himself was never defeated. So this is the scene of a battle between Humayun and Bahadur Shah. So afterwards, the empire survived, but the empire remained the same way, or the survived the same way as Mughal survived after the death of, say, Aurangzeb Alamgir or his son, say, yeah. So the empire survived for close to 40 more years, and it survived till 1585 or 83 when Akbar was able to take control of the empire completely and incorporated it. He not just incorporated this Gujarat, he also incorporated Khandesh and Nizam Shahi Sultanate also, and part of Golconda also incorporated within the Mughal Empire. So